Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Let's get started by joining our voices in song this morning. I invite you to rise in the ways that we do. We're going to do When the Spirit Says Do, 1024. Follow along and we'll tell you the verses with each one. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do. Oh Lord, you gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 Sing. Gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing. Oh Lord, you gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 Dance. Gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you gotta dance. Oh Lord, you gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. 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 You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do. Oh Lord, you got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 Yeah. Get us going on a Sunday morning. Welcome, everyone. I'm the Reverend Doug Wadkins. I welcome you one and all, whether you are watching us wherever you are on live stream or you're here on campus with us. We want you to feel especially welcome this morning. We really particularly welcome our visitors. We hope that you will feel very much a part of our community, again, whether you are visiting us online or in person. If you are here on campus at the end of the service, I would invite you to make a quick visit to our Welcome Corner so that you can find out more about the congregation. If you are online, you can visit our Welcome Corner virtually by going to our homepage and clicking on the banner that says Welcome Visitors. That will take you to a special section that gives you information. Both places, either at the Welcome Corner or online, you can also sign our guest book, either virtually or in person. When you do that, we will send you our weekly newsletter, The Contact, so that you can get to know us even better and about our upcoming events. And we hope that you will join us in those various events as well. And of course, a reminder for those of you who are here on campus that we will have coffee outside in the courtyard after the service. Finally, you will notice that there are amazingly beautiful flowers in front of us. Yesterday, we celebrated the life of Louise Steinspring, one of the most amazing souls ever. And so her beauty continues on by the family sharing her flowers. Thank you, family, for continuing us as we celebrate her life. So as we move into our prelude, may we move now into a time of worship together. Thank you, Don. So as we move into our chalice lighting, I invite you at home, if you have a candle or your own chalice, to spark the flame as we spark our flame here in a moment. Catherine Bonner will do so for us. Our words are taken from the writing of Sharon Wiley. We speak so often of brokenness in religious life. Let us speak today of wholeness. You are welcome here, all of you. Every part of beautiful you, just the way you are. No need to be something more or something less. No holding back, no hiding, no exerting yourself, no trying to be more or do more. You have inherent worth and dignity, and nothing to prove here. Nothing to prove to me. You don't have to try to be more witty or more quiet or more outgoing than you feel this morning. You are beautiful, every part of you, just the way you are. Your skin, your hair, your belly, your limbs, your face, all beautiful, just as it is. You are extraordinary, each and every one of you different from the other, beautiful in your own way, breathtaking. Let us worship together.
Welcome, everybody. Today, I'm going to share with you a book that was written by Lupita Nyong'o and illustrated by Vashti Harrison. You may remember Lupita from the Black Panther movies. And this story that she wrote is a reflection of her own childhood. Solway. Solway was born the color of midnight. She looked nothing like her family, not even a little, not even at all. Mama was the color of dawn, Baba the color of dusk, and Mish, her sister, was the color of high noon. Hardly anyone at the school looked like Solway either. People gave her sister Mish pet names like Sunshine and Ray and Beauty, and people gave Solway names like Blackie and Darky and Night. Solway felt hurt every time, so she hid away while her sister made lots of friends. Solway dreamed of being the same color as her sister. She wanted real friends too. So she got the biggest eraser she could find, and she tried to rub off the layer or two of her darkness. It really hurt. She crept into Mama's room to get herself some makeup. Oh no, she would hear about this from Mama. So Solway decided to work from the inside out, and she would eat only the lightest and brightest of foods. And with a stomachache, she went to bed and prayed for a miracle. Dear Lord, please make me as fair as the parents I am from. I want to be beautiful. May I wake up as bright as the sun in the sky. Amen. But when Mama came in to wake her up for the school the next morning, Solway rushed to the mirror to find not a trace of daylight in her skin. She was so upset. Mama asked, "What is your name?" "Solway," she muttered. "And what does it mean?" "Star," she whispered. Brightness is not in your skin, my love. Brightness is just who you are. You are beautiful, but you can't rely on what you look like to make you feel beautiful. Real beauty comes from the inside. It comes from your mind and your heart. It begins with how you see yourself, not how others see you. Now, up you get and out you go. So all day, Solway thought, how could she, as dark as she was, have brightness in her? How could she have beauty when no one seemed to see it but her mother? How could she be a star? But that night, a shooting star appeared at her window, and the star said, "Come with me." So Solway hopped onto the star, and off they went. The star went on. Long ago, at the beginning of time, there was night and day, and they were sisters. They loved each other very much, but people didn't treat the sisters the same. People gave day pet names like lovely and nice and pretty. People gave night names like scary and bad and ugly. She felt hurt every time, and she finally got fed up and walked right off the earth. But day stayed behind, and everybody was happy to be in the sun until the day really got long. Everybody started missing the night, and so did Day. Day thought to herself, there has to be some way to get her back, so she set off to find Night. And she did. I miss you, Day said. Well, I miss you too, said Night, but you don't know what it's like to be treated badly for being dark. You're right, I don't, said her sister. But what I do know is that we need you just the way you are. Come and see. So night returned, and the people rejoiced. We need the darkest night to get the deepest rest. And the stars chimed in. Brightness isn't just for daylight. Light comes in all colors. And some light can only be seen in the dark. While day has a golden glow, with night everything has a silver sheen, elegant and fine. Day told her sister, when you are darkest is when you are most beautiful. It's when you are most you. Could it be that night did not need to change, not even a little, not even at all? Now that night and day were back together, a little bit of night returns to day in the form of shadows, and a little bit of day returns to night in the form of moonlight. They were inseparable from that moment on, and they promised to celebrate the brightness in each other, whether people chose to see it or not. You see, the star explained, we need them both, on the sunniest day and the darkest night, and every shade in between. Together they make the world we know, light and dark, strong and beautiful. Well, Solway rose the next morning beaming. There would be no hiding anymore. She knew she was dark and beautiful, strong and bright. And if she ever needed a reminder of that brightness, she could look up at the sky at the darkest night to see herself. Let this story remind us that the words that we use, even in innocence, have meaning and power and can be hurtful. Let it remind us that no matter the color of our skin, we all share the same genetic makeup, we all share the same human emotions, and we all want the same human needs. So let us now rise as you are able to sing our opening hymn.
So for these next components, I'm inviting us to think of each of them as a sort of practice, as is true of worship. And so this is not a typical opening hymn. And so I invite you, as you sing it, to be aware of your breath and to really center yourself on your breathing as you sing. You are welcome to make up your own part as we go through this, if that feels good for you, or listen and breathe. But either way, may we join in a meditation on breathing.
I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe in love. When I breathe in, I breathe in. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in,
So let us practice listening carefully and thoughtfully and openly. The reading is taken from The Practice of Wearing Skin by Minister Barbara Brown Taylor, and it begins with perhaps one of the most interesting first sentences of centering words I've ever said. She writes, "I think it is important to pray naked in front of a full-length mirror sometimes, especially when you are full of loathing for your body. We all have gotten glimpses, you have gotten glimpses of your body as you have bathed or changed clothes. But so far, maintaining your equilibrium has depended for many of us on staying covered as much as you can. Now, this can only go on so long, especially for someone who officially believes that God loves flesh and blood, no matter what kind of shape it is in. Whether you are sick or well, lovely or irregular, there comes a time when it is vitally important for your spiritual health to drop your clothes, look in the mirror, and say, 'Here I am. This is the body like no other that my life has shaped. I live here. This is my soul's address.' And after you take a good look around, you may decide that there is a lot to be thankful for, all things considered. Bodies take real beatings, and that they heal from most things is an underrated miracle. That they give birth is beyond reckoning. Here we sit, with our souls tucked away in this marvelous luggage, mostly insensible to the ways in which every spiritual practice begins with the body." Here ends our reading. Will you join me in a few moments of quiet and then sing with me, remaining seated, Spirit of Life. A reading from Gwen Matthews entitled, "Feel That." Feel that every breath, every inhale, exhale. We are living, breathing, connected. We are the whole, complete, beautiful selves that we were born to be. Feel that in your bones, in your muscles, in your heart, in your blood. That is the extraordinary you. the you who was born for this time, this place, this moment. Feel that. The struggle, the worry, the pain, the loss, the grief. It is still you. You are still whole, complete, beautiful, extraordinary. Feel that. When we come to the offering week after week, it is a practice. It isn't just a practice of how you give in the moment, but how your life is a series of gifts, both received and then offered. On this day, what is it that you are grateful for? And how may you in some way share the spirit of that as you move into the rest of your day? In such a generous spirit, the offering will now be given and received. Sometimes I am reminded of the importance of a topic by the cascade of responses that I receive from folks when I tell them what I'm preaching about this Sunday. There was a neighbor who is quite attractive and seemingly in good shape, who, when I told him the topic, said quietly, "You know, I won't go swimming in public because I'm uncomfortable to take my shirt off in front of people." Or a colleague who wrote to me about how dispiriting it is to go jean shopping, and almost every time she sits in the trying out room crying for several minutes until she gets control of herself. Or remembering when I was in high school, at grad night, on the way home from Disney World, I was the only boy in the midst of girls, and the entire time they were talking about bras, of all things. I mean, the last thing in the world I know anything about. And at one point, one of the girls talked about just the last year, how one day in gym class, the entire row of girls had made fun of her because as a senior in high school, she still wore a training bra. Or a close friend of mine who told me something I never knew just a couple of days ago, that his first boyfriend had died in college from complications of a secret bulimia. And I realized that this topic is really incredibly powerful. How we feel about our bodies has so many layers. It's both very personal, and as you'll see, it really moves into the largest politic of the world. And it may be possible for you that you have some things this brings up that you either haven't talked about or choose not to. And if it is difficult for you, I invite you to take care of yourself. And if it means you need to give someone a call or me a call to chat through what comes up, please do. The thing is, it seems like such a sad paradox that one of the most basic and foundational gifts that we are given by life itself, our body, is arguably as much a source of trauma as it is of joy. It is likely that so much of our culture creates this expectation and associations with our bodies that whatever our age, our class, our gender, our understanding of our sexuality or our race, it impacts our understandings of the very core of ourselves, often in the most intimate ways possible. I was so taken the first time I read that meditation that I read to you by Barbara Brown Taylor, and to think at the time that it felt like a revelation, that we need to be able to look at ourselves more thoughtfully and lovingly and say, here I am. This is the body like no other that has been shaped by life, and I live here. This is my soul's address. I think we do a good job of telling people that they have basic worth and dignity. But we so often don't really extend explicitly that sense of wonder to our bodies. Those opening words that we often speak of brokenness in religious life, but today we speak of wholeness. You are welcome here. Every part of you is beautiful just as it is. We don't really say that enough, because the thing is, there are so many things that happen in our lives that deeply impact our bodies and how we feel about it. On every given Sunday, something is happening in someone's life or in the life of someone you know that, when you boil it down, comes down to what is happening within their body. Now, certainly their mind and their spirit make a huge difference. But if we did a better job more often of reminding you how deeply spiritual, how core it is to your understanding and quality of life, how you feel about your body, I think we would be doing a great service. And more often in our worship, reminding ourselves that almost everything we do here really can remind us, take us back to how the body is essential. From singing, to sitting, to listening, to touching, all of those things require the physicality and are a part of our daily life experience. And I certainly have experienced very personally on some of those first worst days when the pandemic began, when it was just me and Moo in my apartment, hours and hours, thinking about how fragile I felt about what might happen to my body when we had no idea how this was even really spread or what would happen with it. And it did seem important to use something like Barbara's meditation to remind me to be grateful, deeply grateful for that moment and that gift of the health of my body. So this affirmation is important in our faith. We really are grounded in the idea, the truth, that we are beautiful, body, mind, and soul. And that reverberation goes out further and further. As Jess Baker writes in one of her articles, why I've chosen body liberation over body love. She talks about that in our journey to sort of understand ourselves. There are so many reasons where there will be moments when we do not authentically love our body. Sometimes our body is in a lot of pain. Very often our bodies do not look the way that we wish that they did. And always your body is changing, and none of us like that kind of change. But she says, and I love this simple phrase, it is not always possible to love your body, but you don't have to love your body in order to live your best life. To me, that is deeply liberating. That it isn't about how your body is in a moment, because you only have so much control over that. It is your ability to move forward as authentically as you can into your life anyway. Also knowing that even when your body is not at its best, it is still doing its best to give you what it can. And for how long in life that is enough. How many days we are given the gift of waking up every morning and breathing throughout the day, even if imperfectly. So we begin this morning by just reaffirming that that alone is revolutionary. To really think about your body as the gift as it is, but know that even when it doesn't feel like a gift, you still have the liberating power to live fully and authentically, whatever else is true. But it also reminds me that it isn't just personal. As the Lupita Nyong'o story talks about, there is another reality about the body, and especially when it comes to body in the term beautiful. As Ursula Le Guin wrote, beauty always has rules, and she means the sense of beauty in the body. She continues, it's a game, and I resent the beauty game when I see it controlled by people who grab fortunes from it and don't care who they hurt. I hate it when I see it making people so self-dissatisfied that they starve and deform and poison themselves. And what we also know is that the more that our culture identifies that certain people do not have as much power and worth, it is all the more likely that the components of their bodies may be labeled as less acceptable and certainly less beautiful, or at the very least, held to a very stringent and destructive standard. If you are female, queer, trans, a person of color, chances are you receive very distinctive, powerful messages about your body. Rachel Kuo writes about the experience of the beauty myth for women of color, and she says that really the implications of this myth and what's so wrong with it generalizes to impact us all. She says, number one, that for women of color, very often their bodies and their sexuality are turned into either trends or jokes or fetishes. And those tropes don't allow for multiple ways of looking at what is true in being, and tends to not let these people really live their authentic lives. She says there are at least 4 ways it manifests itself. It manifests itself in the privileging of smaller bodies and then the sexualizing of different types of bodies. She quotes Julia Fang, who writes that because women of color experience this, their traits are often either exceptions or expectations of their race. And they're so saturated with images that tell us that they need to make their bodies look a specific way. Certainly something that probably many of us are no strangers to. But there's a particular insidiousness that happens with racial diversity. She says, number 2, there's also a huge obsession in the world around non-straight hair. She quotes Maisha Johnson, who talks about how often black women have the experience of people feeling that they can touch their hair because they're fascinated by it, often without even asking for consent in the first place. And strangely enough, in a high percentage of cases, when black hair is still represented in the mainstream media, it is usually depicted in a way that is opposite of natural black hair. Black actresses and models still are often shown with chemically straightened hair, wigs, or flat ironed hair. And then number 3, that lighter and whiter skin is more valued. She begins by pointing out that skin bleaching is a $10 billion a year industry. And that even in cultures that are predominantly darker skinned, there still is a pecking order, as the children's story reminded us, between the darkest skin hues and the lighter ones. And that there's a deep and powerful set of thoughts that come out of that sense of the lighter you are, the better you are. And finally, very general but very powerful within people of color, that to look young and youthful is the most important thing to beauty, according to what culture tells us. It is true that almost all of us receive that message again and again. But she talks about the particular ways that that works itself out, and yet again traps women of color in certain expectations that become inordinately powerful and destructive in their lives. There are so many ways that the way we think about our bodies can harm us. Just even thinking about the impact of eating disorders and how rampant they still are in our culture. And it is true that it can impact white straight men as well. Statistically, the number of men who have anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa continue to rise every year all over the world. But the thing is, the studies indicate that probably what's true is that most men in every culture are so unaware of the impact of their eating because they haven't had the same sort of paranoid emphasis on how skinny they are, depending on what sorts of sports, et cetera, that they play, or whether they're gay or not. So even for the most privileged people in our culture, there is incredible power in how we understand our bodies and what our culture tells us about it. So, what is it that we can do? Well, we have all of these things that are true, but what we can definitely do as a community here is to remember more often to include things that are about the body, that help us interact more meaningfully, to integrate more fully who we are as embodied people. Throughout the country, more and more of our worship really tries to make sure that it engages more of the body intentionally and reminds people to be aware of themselves physically. We can remember to speak more often about the importance of how we think about our own bodies. And we can also remember to affirm in each other the gift of the body, even when we are struggling with that gift. I remember that as I was doing my very first internship, one of our congregants left my first year to go off to theological school. And as I was researching this, her name, Casey Slack, came up again. And in conclusion, she wrote this in thinking about her body. We all have these things about our body, the stuff we hide as best we can and hope nobody notices. The stuff we were taught was wrong about us, that would have people not like us, not love us. But the thing is, we are a lot of things. Many of us are fat or queer or trans or black or brown or whatever. We are people who are chronically ill. We are people who experience mental health problems, who interact with the world in different ways from the norm. We are people with bodies and lives that are supposed to believe we are wrong. But when we're told to hide, to disappear, to blend the best we can, some piece of ourselves dies off so that another person may think we are not, that we are okay. But she concludes, and so do I, we are okay. We're better than okay. We are beautiful. She reminds us that Psalm 139 says, fearfully and wonderfully made. We are stardust. We are the universe experiencing itself. We are, each of us, a miracle. May some part of this message resonate with you today, and may you take it into the world as best you can. Thank you for the few moments of thinking about this with me. Amen, and blessed be. Big change of focus here. I'm here to do some of the good work of welcoming our newest class of new members. And so in just a moment, I will invite those who are our new members to come forward, and I will also invite Bill and Claire to come forward as well and join me up here. But most of all, before I do that, as we know, this has been such a wild and strange 2 years, and our membership certainly has been an important part of that. And so we are especially grateful for the gift of being able to celebrate this morning those who found us often in the midst of the pandemic and are part of our community as we move into a new era in our life together with a new minister. So to honor and celebrate together, I invite all those who are our newest members to come forward and line up here in front. And I'd like to invite Bill and Claire, Bill as our president of the board, and Claire from our membership committee to come up. So join me up here, please. And if I could have you just lined up single file facing out to the congregation so we can see your beautiful, beautiful faces.
Please tell them to go around the cake. Tell the new members to go right to the cake and thing for a photo.
I will. You may have to, you're so crowded, move a little more this way.
Come down this way a little way. McLaren. This way.
Stage directions are difficult. Yes, let's try to get everyone in one line so we can see you all. An amazing class, huh? Yes, especially for a pandemic year. Very good. So I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to go down the line, and I'll invite you to tell the congregation your name.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Indira Allen Stevens.
I'm Michael Fox.
I'm Susan Davey.
Good morning, I'm Kevin Kidd.
Joyce Peralta.
Donald Carey.
Vicki Carey.
I'm Cindy Rubin.
Scott Rubin.
Enid Romanak.
Vicki Niswander.
Bob Arevalo.
Paul Bernard.
Martha Lindberg.
McLaren Davies.
And Richard Davies.
By becoming a member of this church, you are entering a caring community of people who welcome you and affirm your worth and dignity. You are becoming part of a community of people who believe we have responsibility to pursue the goals of peace, liberty, and justice, and to respect the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part.
By becoming a member of this church, you become part of a congregation of people who do not pretend to have all the answers, but who covenant together to live joyfully and creatively in the questions.
We invite you to join with us in our unfolding quest, living in the diversity and challenge to growth that is at the heart of a liberal religious community.
I invite me and the membership committee representative and Bill to join together in these words. Speaking for all the members of Unitarian Universalist Church of Sarasota, we gratefully acknowledge your choice to join with us. We rejoice that you now walk with us in our quest for community, justice, and love. Your contributions will strengthen our church. We welcome you in spirit, freedom, and we accept our responsibility to help you feel included in this free and open church. So let's see, do we have the slide with, there are a couple of things for the congregation to say. Do we happen to have that? Yeah. Great. So if you'll turn around, new members, your words are up there. Oh, that's right, you can also see in the back, that's true. I forgot about that. If you can see it, go for it. Whichever way. Here we go. We accept and may we all rise in the way that we do. Let's all join together in the words. You can see them in both directions as we say together. This ceremony of joining is a moment of beginning. From this day forward, we dedicate ourselves to living together in peace, seeking understanding and community, and in the spirit of love. Can we give them a big round of applause to welcome them with our love? So we are all going to sing a hymn together, but we invite all of our new members to head out while we're singing and go out to the courtyard. There is a cake out in the courtyard. If you will go make your way to that table and stand behind it, we'll take the picture of all of you.
May I say something?
Of course.
I want to say welcome to all of our members. I got to meet most of them yesterday. I want to also thank Claire and the membership committee for a wonderful weekend and welcoming our new members. And as I said yesterday,
yeah, it's a beautiful day.
I know that we will be better off, the church be better off for having these new members. And I find it quite an oxymoron that we talk about finding people who think alike, and yet we're now welcoming some 20 new divergent views of what that means. But we really do welcome them. And I want to say one other thing, please, that Mary Fran and I will be leaving this week to be traveling for several weeks. So this will be the last time I will be in the sanctuary with Doug. And I just want to say, Doug, I have really enjoyed working with you. I appreciate your leadership, your spirituality. And you've been great, and we wish you well as you go forward.
Thank you. So we will now join together in hymn 1074. You can mostly read up there as we do it, but here we go. We come from the fire, living in the fire, go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water, go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living in the mountain, go back to the mountain, turn the world around.
mountain. Spirit is the sunlight, turn the world around. We are of the Spirit, truly of the Spirit. Only can the Spirit turn the world around. Oh, so is life a batiwa. So is life. Oh, so is life a batiwa. So is life. Oh, so is life a batiwa. So is life. Whoa! So is life a batiwa. So is life.
So again, with all that we are, we extinguish this flame, but not the powerful gift of full body, mind, and spirit, not the wonderful warmth of human love, body to body and mind to mind, nor the fire of living our lives fully. That ongoing task will take us forward and then we hope lead us back here again. Thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you out in coffee hour.